And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! Because knowledge is power.
So, the epidemic might end in the summertime, which is basically when the flu season ends anyway, isn't it? Interesting.
Trump's medical experts say they're seeing signs that social distancing and other efforts to slow the spread of the coronavirus have been working, but they warn the next few weeks are critical. They say Americans must not get complacent. Yesterday, the president said he thinks the country will reopen, though, sooner rather than later.
And we could do it in phases. We can go to some areas, which some areas are much less affected than others. But it would be nice to be able to open with a big bang and open up our country, or certainly most of our country, and I think we're going to do that soon.
It would certainly be nice. Dr. Anthony Fauci is a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and he's also the top infectious disease doctor at the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Fauci, good morning. So we just heard that these models showing death projections in the United States have fortunately been revised downward, but that's only one model. What are you seeing among all the models, and what does it mean for this reopening potentially of the country?
Well, the models, as I've often said, are as good as the assumptions that you put into the models. And those assumptions, sometimes when you tweak them a little, they really change the range of the kinds of projections that you've heard. Remember, we were talking about 100,000 to 200,000 deaths. What's happening is that we are doing a very good job on mitigation, on the physical separation, the adherence to the guidelines. And as new data comes in, what you do, you integrate that data into the model to modify the model. And that's why you're seeing those projections coming down somewhat. That's good news, but the thing we have to be careful of, that we don't then take that good news to think that we might be able to pull back a bit. We've got to continue, in many respects, to redouble our efforts at the mitigation of physical separation in order to keep those numbers down and hopefully even get them lower than what you've heard recently.
So, Dr. Fauci, let's talk about that redoubling of our efforts, because what a lot of Americans are thinking right now is, okay, so I've made it to April. I'm going to go through the spring. What about the summer? Virtually everybody in this country has some kind of thing planned for this summer. Can they expect to go forward with those plans, or will we still be in some sort of a shelter-in-place or lockdown condition?
It looks like things are going to be improving. If you look at the curves that we talk about, we often talk about flattening the curve and then getting around the corner and coming down. If, in fact, we see that, and it'll be differential in different parts of the country. I mean, New York City, the terrible ordeal that they've gone through is very different from some of the places in the middle of the country or in the mountain regions. So when you say get back to normal, it's not going to be a light switch that you turn on and off. It's going to be differential and gradual depending upon where you are and where the burden of infection is. But the bottom line of it all is that we see looking forward, it is very likely that we will progress towards the steps towards normalization as we get to the end of this 30 days. And I think that's going to be a good time to look and see how quickly can we make that move to try and normalize. But hopefully, by the time we get to the summer, we will have taken many steps in that direction.
So, Dr. Fauci, when you start talking about that progress toward normalization, can you envision a summer at this point, based on the models, where people are going back to beaches, people are going to baseball games, weddings are happening, reunions are happening? Is that in the cards right now?
It can be in the cards, and I say that with some caution, because, as I said, when we do that, when we pull back and try to open up the country, as we often use that terminology, we have to be prepared that when the infections start to rear their heads again, that we have in place a very aggressive and effective way to identify, isolate, contact trace, and make sure we don't have those spikes that we've seen now. So the answer to your question is yes, if we do the things that we need to do to prevent the resurgence.
Are you personally expecting to take a summer vacation somewhere other than Washington, D.C. this summer?
Well, you're talking to the wrong person. I don't take vacations. I just want to look at what we have in front of us right now. I'm not thinking about vacations.
Well, let's talk about one other thing that you say you don't think anybody should be doing, and I presume that means yourself as well, and that's shaking hands. I think a lot of people heard that yesterday, and they thought to themselves, as you said yourself, sounds crazy. We're never shaking hands again? Walk us through your thinking there.
No. No, I did it almost a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but not really. There was a bit of reality to that. What I really meant is that we really now need to be aware of, because it has hit us smack in the face, that respiratory infections, particularly brand new, ominous respiratory infections like we're going through right now, are clearly spread very much not only by droplets, but by people touching their face, shaking hands. And that's the reason why we talk about washing hands so often. I don't think in reality that we're going to all of a sudden never again shake hands. But I think I threw that out there to get people to start thinking much more about personal hygiene and the way that impacts the spread of a really deadly infection like we're going through right now.
All right, Dr. Fauci. Well, I hope you and I can meet face-to-face sometime soon, and I will shake your hand if I get that opportunity. Appreciate you being on with us this morning.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Take care.